All right, we're live right now. We'll let a couple people get up in the building. In here with my guy. Okay, so we got my boy say let's get the party started. All right, here we come. Let's get a few more in here, and we'll kick it off. Great day to be alive. Great day to be in here with my homie, man, and talk some ball. This is what we like to do. Super Bowl week is coming up now.
Yes, sir. Yep, be a good time.
Great time. All right, well, no longer to delay it. Let's go and get this thing going. What's good, wagering world? It's your boy 5-Star in Vegas, and I'm broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. This is the Wagering World, and man, I got a special guest in here today, man. He's been on the show before. He's a friend of the show, man, and a friend of mine, man. Such a blessing to have Garret Williams in here, aka Houston Stressans. What's going on today, Garret?
Oh, not much, man. Just honored and blessed to be on the show with you. It's always a great conversation, and look forward to talking ball, man.
Man, I just want to first of all say, as a Texans fan, man, we appreciate all the work that you put in, man. And you gave me my lucky shirt. I still wear that shirt. I had one of my biggest wins on the Texans on that shirt that you shipped me out that had the 713. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply anymore because our boy Diggs went to New England, which has worked out great for him in his career. But yeah, man, that was some great merch. And if you guys want any great merch, you make sure anything for the Texans and the Rockets to go to my boy's website. Give him the website real quick, Garret.
Yeah, HoustonStressans.com. It's STRESSANS.com. But yeah, that 713 shirt, man, that's a classic. I made one this last year with CJ and Christian Kirk, number 13, but unfortunately that connection wasn't too good. But I'm hoping supposedly Tank's going to get number 1 back. You know, maybe someone else will pick number 3 and we'll get a new iteration of 713 for the 2026 season.
Yes, definitely, man. Great shirt, great designs with everything that you do, man. As I said, we really appreciate you as guys who follow the Texans with the work that you put in, man. I've watched your entire journey, man, and just keep going, man. Keep growing. You're doing a great job, man. Let's get to the past real briefly and talk about, since we haven't got a chance to spoke at least on air where people could hear the conversation, about how the Texans season ended. In your opinion, what went wrong in Foxborough?
Yeah, it was tough, man. I mean, I certainly didn't expect it to happen like that. I know most fans didn't expect it to happen like that, but I mean, you know, obviously CJ Stroud played a bad game. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it or getting around it. You know, and what killed me was, you know, the Pittsburgh game. You know, yes, Stroud didn't play great in that game, but I feel like it was getting overblown. Like, to me, you know, he had one play in particular that was just a real bad play. That pick in the Pittsburgh game down in the red zone was just, he just freaked out and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
But most of the other struggles, in my opinion, were like between the snap and whether it's just him straight up dropping the ball or there's actual issues with him in the center snapping it too soon or high or low or whatever. To me, that was something that has never happened, you know, in his career. And it became maybe potentially something in that game where it did become like a temporary yips. And to me, that wasn't something that we had seen prior and something that I thought would continue to happen. But then that became the talking point by all the national pundits, like, well, the Texans can win only if Stroud doesn't turn the ball over. And historically, you know, his rookie season, he had a great year, barely turned the ball over. This year, the team as a whole and Stroud did a really good job of protecting the ball. That was the emphasis and why they had gone so far. And so that game, to me, the Steelers game, was like, oh, this is just an anomaly. It's really literally just a snap, so it'll be fine. He had one bad play. Aside from that, we're good. And then you go to the game, and he has the 4 picks in the first half. So, yes, the snaps were fixed, but they were the interceptions. But that being said, I hated that because everyone now feels vindicated. But even though like their argument was based off of him, fumbling the ball, but I do think you have to consider other things too. Like, yes, he deserves most of, if not, you know, a brunt of the blame. But like me watching the film, bro, like their interior wrecked our whole O-line. Like Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, like they were in the backfield every play. Like obviously we had like 1 yard per carry rushing, so you had no run game. And when you did throw the ball, like, you know, intermediate anywhere, they literally had the center or the guard or even the tackle from Christian Barmore or Milton Williams literally in CJ Stroud's lap every play. That's not to say he didn't still make bad plays aside from that, but I mean, that also needs to be highlighted. And I personally think the weather was a massive factor, and no one's really highlighting that. And obviously, on the flip side, Drake May, he didn't play a great game, but they won. But he did play better. He made plays. But I mean, he had 4 fumbles. 2 of them we don't recover. If we recover 2 of those fumbles, it could be a different story. And now it's Drake May sucks and not Stroud, and the Texans win potentially. So I think, you have to throw that in there when considering it. It's a terrible game, but I do feel like, from that game going forward, I feel like it's getting overblown. Like he does deserve criticism, but like, again, this is to me still an anomaly, considering the weather and, but now it's like, oh, he can't play in big games. It's like, man, like what, like he's won plenty of big games, NFL, college, like, but it is what it is. So like, I think it can be for the greater good in the long term. Like he'll now be motivated, but obviously the defense dominated, but the defense, after all those turnovers, one was a pick 6, which that was a bad decision by him, but it was also like, it's easy for us to sit there and watch it. It happened so quick. I mean, our left tackle gets blown up into the motioning tight end who now trips, who is Stroud's, the little slip route in the leak, like his safety valve where he's going to throw the ball to. And the guy covering him, now the outside backer literally has a heads up play and rushes Stroud. It happens like that. So like, and he was throwing to a guy that was open. And so like, as bad as that play was, I don't think it was quite as bad as we think. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened, but I was going to get to the point of like the defense. Like you turn the ball over 4 times. The one was a pick 6. The other 3 they didn't score off of. They were literally like all 3 and outs, and then a fumble. So the defense responded. But that being said, like they eventually let up, and then I think it's also being lost too. Is like we're just all like crapping on the Patriots. Like, oh, if only this. Like the Patriots deserve some credit, bro. Like they're a pretty good team. Their defense is underrated. And they made 3 massive, very difficult plays on offense. Like the Kayshon Boutte one-hand catch was insane. The Pop Douglas catch on 4th and 1, that was a massive play on their second drive. Kalen Bullock jumps just a tad early, still tips it, but he catches it and scores a touchdown. Like if that plays a little bit different, rather than 7 points, it's now our ball on like the 20 or 30. So, and then the Stephon Diggs touchdown catch was insane too. It was a great throw and strong hands, got hit and hold on to it. So they made 3 like that right there is the game. And then, obviously the fumbles he didn't recover. So I think context is deserved. That's a long answer to your question there.
No, man, I love it. That's what I like. I like, me and you both are really detail oriented. We love talking ball and chopping shop. And, with us both having background of actually playing the game as well. But you played at Incarnate Word, and as you know, I played in Louisiana and stuff like that. We kind of see the game different. You were a receiver, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, and I played quarterback. So we see the game just a little bit different than most people do. You hit a lot of great points in that. I'm so glad that you brought up that play where the tight end, the tackle got blew up. The tight end was his first read. That's on Nick Caley. And me and you have talked about that before online. Nick Caley did a horrible job this year with situational play calling. You're up 14-10 at this point. Your defense is revved up. You have the ball inside your 20. Your main tight end, your top target tight end just went to the locker room. And on the first play, you're going to call a naked bootleg left with a right-handed quarterback, which we know is the hardest pass for any right-handed quarterback to make, to a backup tight end who just got in the game, and you're not being able to block up really good. What are you doing? That's just doesn't make sense. And I also put a lot of this from day one on D'Amico Ryans, and I love D'Amico, and he's learning on the job, as we know. Great coach. He's done things for this organization in his 3 years as the head coach that, he's already reached heights that really not too many other coaches besides B.O.B. have reached. D'Amico has to learn from just looking at this Super Bowl right now. You have 2 defensive-minded head coaches in the Super Bowl for the first time, I want to say, in 6 years. It's usually offensive guys. Mm-hmm. What do each of these guys do? They went and hired offensive coordinators who had proven offensive systems before in the NFL, and this wasn't the first time that they had the play sheet in their hand. For some reason, D'Amico continues to hire these guys who are learning on the job. They've never had a system that worked correctly in the NFL. They're just trying the system this year. And CJ is the one who's receiving all of the talk and all of the bad press, but he's not being developed correctly over there on Kirby, man. The reason he was so good his rookie season, because he still had the development and he still had the mechanics that Ryan Day had put inside of him. Now, after a couple of years of being away from Ohio State, it's on Houston to keep the development going. And they failed him tremendously, whether it was Slowick, whether it was Caley. None of those guys work with the quarterback and keeps the quarterback's mechanics tight. Like those things, those turnovers, that's all practice, man. That's all practice and all emphasis. That's all week. They're supposed to be in his ear. 2 hands on the ball, CJ. Protect the ball, eat the ball if a sack comes. They're not telling them anything, man. They're just coming out and they're just running plays, and he's the one who's getting all of the criticism. But they have not done a good job developing. We know that 7, if the pocket's clean, he throws one of the prettiest balls we've seen. I comped him to Warren Moon, man. He's one of the best passers we've seen come through the NFL in the last 10 years, man. He's accurate as hell. But they're making him lose his confidence. And then another thing this makes me mad about D'Amico, okay? And I love him. Don't get me wrong, but he deserves also to receive some.
Yeah, you're being fair. I agree.
Yeah, he deserves some of this criticism because his quarterback is getting all of the criticism. All right, D'Amico, you know that your defense is the number 1 unit on your whole team. They're the ones that set the tone. Why aren't you playing complimentary football? Vrabel went to Denver. He saw them come get back in the game with that interception, and they scored. Guess what he told Josh McDaniels, who's a veteran? Josh McDaniels been in 10 Super Bowls, bro. Has 6 rings. Shut this shit down. That's what he told him. We're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
We're going to play small ball.
3-and-out punt. It's fine.
If we punt it, who cares? We're going to let our defense get us there. D'Amico has not reached that level yet. And as I said, hopefully he's taking notes from these 2 coaches. Is Mike McDonald, same way. Like, I'm a defensive guy. Let me go find Clint Kubiak, bring him in here, 2nd-generation coach. We know he knows offense. We've seen the system before be successful. Here, Clint, you can have this. Go ahead, dude. Why isn't Clint Kubiak even our OC? Like, he should have been in Houston. He started with us. You know, I just don't get why D'Amico will not emphasize, look, I'm a defensive guy. I do a hell of a job on my side of the ball. Let me find someone who's a veteran on the other side of the ball who not only can call plays that we know have worked, also can play complementary football, but most importantly, they can develop CJ and make sure that mechanically he's playing football the right way. So I put this entire loss on D'Amico and also on Nick Caley for the way that he calls plays, man. He just is not – he's developing his system as he goes. And with the type of team that we have, we don't have time for that, man. It's go time right now. We could have easily been there instead of the Patriots if it's just a couple small adjustments that D'Amico made. But another thing is we said Vrabel has a lot more experience as a head coach and coaching than D'Amico. He's learning as he goes, and he's
attention to detail. Yeah, I mean, he is known for his attention to detail, like manipulating rules. And like I'm watching the mic'd up from the Patriots, like when Ramondre Stevenson late in the game, they're literally trying to run the clock out in this 2 clock. He sees him on the sideline, comes and checks his gloves and wipes his gloves off, thinking, okay, we can't fumble. It's wet. It's snowy. I'm going to go to him and wipe his gloves off. So, I mean, the points you brought up too. So, you know, people can look at this as excuse making, but like your point about, you know, Dalton Schultz getting hurt. Like, okay, our top receiving target, literally his top receiving target. You're already missing Nico Collins, who's the best receiver. And then now Dalton Schultz, his favorite security blanket, a guy that one of the few guys on the team that he can trust in this offense that's supposedly more Patriots focused and it's more, you know, option routes, giving freedom to receivers to break a certain way based off of coverage or leverage. And Dalton Schultz is like seemingly the only single guy that he can trust that knows how to do it the right way. And that's a big thing we saw all year, especially early on. You know, the casual fan will see a ball sail to the right and the receiver go left. Like, oh, what a terrible throw. It's like, no, the freaking receiver is having a hard time being on the same page as CJ Stroud. And so now Dalton Schultz, the one guy he can trust to do it, is gone. And yeah, so like Nick Caley too, like I'm still obviously like I'm fine with him. You know, I'm still going to reserve judgment, but he does deserve criticisms. He's still a young OC, but you know, I may be over analyzing this, but my big thing was like the weather, bro. Like I, as a fan and having played football, it's like, okay. And then what pisses me off too, and like I feel like they don't think this way, and maybe I am overblowing it, but like all week I listened to all these interviews on both sides of the team, Patriots, Texans, asked about the weather, and every player and coach on different mediums, when asked about the weather, either said it's not a big deal, just line up and play like normal. And you even had some players and coaches say, oh, I didn't even know it's supposed to snow. I didn't even know it was going to snow. Like, how the hell is this not being talked about? And obviously, you saw with Stroud, like, you know, simple little flat routes that he never misses, throwing way behind and wobbly. Like, obviously, the ball and the weather being slick or whatever was a factor. But to further on that point, like, I, as a fan, was like, okay, I looked at the forecast. It's not going to snow until the second half, but it's actually going to rain in the first half because it's still warm. And then the second half, it gets dark and it cools off, and now it snows. And like me, from watching football, I know that it's easier to throw the ball in the snow than it is the rain, because the rain is wet. It's a liquid. The ball's wet, whereas the snow, it's a solid and it's not as slick. And so it's like, okay, if you want to pass the ball, the game plan should be the weather's going to be terrible in the first half. Let's be super conservative. Let it play out. And then if we need to be aggressive in the second half, be aggressive. Exactly. Nick Caley and the Texans offense came out ultra aggressive, already down Nico. You lose Schultz. The game plan to start the game was to throw this shit out of the ball in terrible conditions with the inferior O-line that's getting wrecked. It's like, what are you doing?
Great defense. So you're putting your defense in all of these bad situations. So as I said, it goes all the way to the top. And we're going to go even farther than that with it, Garrett. It's a reason why the Patriots have been to 12 Super Bowls. Mr. Kraft is going to act. He saw last year, like, I love Gerard Mayo. He played for me. He's a good guy. We get along. But, hey, man, it's not working. You're out of here, right? Let me go get Vrabel, who understands the system, is one of the guys who initially started this Patriots dynasty that we had. We know he's soaked up everything he could from Bill Belichick. He's Bill Belichick Jr. He's just like we got Bill again, but maybe just a little bit more fired up, a little bit better at communicating with players. Let's go get him. The first thing Vrabel does, well, let's go get Josh McDaniel, because he knows how to run our system. Look at the jump Drake made from being a rookie to his second year. That's all Josh McDaniels, man. That's all coaching. That's all experience on the offensive side. And I hate it for CJ Stroud, because when you and I watch football, we don't just look at the fluff. A lot of people just look at the bottom line. They don't look at the details. If you're watching the details, then you know that CJ Stroud has been immensely corrupted in his growth by his own franchise, man. It all starts at the top. Mr. McNair isn't a football guy. Cal isn't a football guy as much as Kraft has become over the years of owning the team so long. So he trusts Nick Caserio to do what he needs to do. He trusts D'Amico. D'Amico is so focused on defense, he still moves like a defensive coordinator. And there's nothing wrong with that, because Mike McDonald moves the same way with Seattle, but he also was wise enough to go make the right hires. The most important thing for the Texans that they're missing, and I haven't heard of any changes coming, is offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. I don't see why they haven't just, look, man, we know this is the problem. Let's tear it down. We might have to start again, but it's okay. Let's start again. Let's go get John Gruden. Let's go do whatever we need to do, who we know is going to get in there and take CJ Stroud, get him back confident, get him running things that he's confident with, and who understands situationally what we need to do to be successful in order for our defense to continue to dominate, because we only have a window, I'd say now maybe 3-year window, because Danielle Hunter's getting a little bit up there. You know, this is the time right now to move. They're going to sit on their hands, and they're about to bring Nick Caley back again. I don't hear anything. Have you heard anything about O-line coach changing? Is it going to be?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm fine with running it back, but like I think the O-line coach was actually good. Cole Popovich, it was his first year, and the O-line was better numbers wise. But I would
So you
say
think
too,
it's
like,
talent? It's roster talent then?
well, like I mean, look at the way they approached the O-line last year. Like any fan was like, okay, the Texans offense sucked last year because of the O-line. Okay, which part of the O-line? Okay, the interior. And then like our approach was to get Ed Ingram, who ended up being great. He's obviously a great run blocker, but not the best pass blocker. And then you sign Lake and Tomlinson. Like you were pretty unserious about the way you approached it. And then like they're like, anytime you ask them about it, like they take it personal, but they're all legitimate questions. And then come the draft, like you just trade back and then you don't go get a guy, you don't trade up or whatever it may be. So I think the personnel limited them. And what they did do was I think it was the correct approach, but they sped up CJ. Like the emphasis, you could see it from like mic'd ups and practices early on in training camp, was to get the ball out quick. And so that's where if you have an inferior O-line and they're getting beat, but the ball's out in 2 seconds or less, it doesn't matter. And that's what was happening all year. And so we kind of masked an issue. But as times went on where you had to throw deeper downfield, you would see that happen, but also in the run game too. And, so in that game too, like, I was talking about why come out passing the ball. People might say, well, you couldn't run the ball. Well, like even to our point earlier, like, okay, when you have the best defense, you going 3 and out or maybe getting a first down or two, running the ball and limiting turnovers, you're still in the game. We literally just gave the game away by turning the ball over. So, but I think to your point too, with D'Amico, he's a young coach. I think the first hire, it was just a natural, okay, I'm from San Francisco. I want to get the Shanahan. There's this Bobby Slowick guy. He's my good friend. Hire him. Okay, boom, that's fine. And then you do wonder, okay, you fire him. And then I wanted more of like a spread offense to kind of emulate CJ Stroud, the guy you picked number 2 overall. Okay, why was he picked number 2 overall? Because he played in this type of offense, Ryan Day at Ohio State. Wouldn't you want to try and just replicate that for the guy you've invested your whole franchise into?
Let's go over film. What did you like, CJ? What was your best plays? And let him do it. They make it so difficult.
Spread, tempo, instead we're running all this BS, like,
I don't understand it, man, because and then we had the least amount of motion in the entire league. Like, nothing's hidden. One thing that I really like, we're going to move on because we've been there a second on this subject. Kaylee does a horrible job, not only situationally, and that's why we struggle so bad near the goal line, but, man, he doesn't set up plays. He doesn't give you the same looks over and over, and they can run several things out of that look. He doesn't do that, man. It's just like, we're going to line up in the shotgun, they're going to throw it. Okay, we're going to line up on the center, they're going to run the stretch. Like, you have to have a little bit more diversity, a little bit better scheme with that. We just talked about D'Amico has a lot to learn. Look at Mike Vrabel. He had Drake May is in the Super Bowl, and everyone's just praising Drake May. Let's see Drake May's numbers. He completed 55.8% of his passes in the playoffs. 5 total touchdowns, 15 sacks taken. He's been sacked 5 times in each 3 games, 2 interceptions, 6 fumbles. But
these are fumbles too. Like the Stroud fumbles, like calling a drop snap a fumble is driving me crazy. Like, oh, Stroud had 20 fumbles. Right. They're all freaking drop snap. These are legit fumbles by May, like not just a drop snap.
Strip fumbles, a couple of them against the Texans where he was scrambling and trying to make something happen, but he's still in the Super Bowl, and it's because Mike Vrabel. So, D'Amico, you got to tighten up. We love you to death, and all the Houston fan base think that you are a great coach. Just the details, man. You have to.
I think part of it, he's still young and his network is small. So, like, now you go to hire your next OC. You've only been in the league so long. And then you also do wonder, like, how much of this was D'Amico's hire? How much of this was Caserio and the Patriots tie? But also, too, like, we argue for Clint Kubiak, but it was obvious, too, Stroud wanted out of that Shanahan system and wanted the freedom to make checks. So then that kind of eliminates Kubiak. And then now we're getting that.
Him and Slowick go back to the drawing board. Let's have a meeting. We're all professionals in here because Slowick to me is
adapt your system to.
Yeah, people think that Slowick. I feel like that CJ played better in Slowick's system than he did in Kayla's system. But I know the numbers might say something different. But if you don't look at the problems that occurred in the playoffs, really, CJ had a really good year this year, leading up into that concussion. And a lot of my followers are talking to me about the concussion. Like, man, maybe that was lingering. Like, we don't want to accept that, but if you think about it, since that concussion, he's played a lot different. He had just started humming when he ended up getting knocked out the game, and we've seen a different quarterback since then. But I think that the future is bright for not only the Texans, but D'Amico Ryans and CJ, and I think that they're going to figure out sooner or later. Speaking of CJ, do you think that they're going to extend him, or they're going to I heard they're working on the extension, or do you think they make him show and prove this year with another, he has one more year on his rookie deal?
Yeah, I'm actually working on an article, but I mean, obviously, it's a no-brainer to do the fifth-year option because you'll lock him in around like 26 million. Which, regardless of your opinion on Stroud, like getting a quarterback of that caliber for that dollar value in today's market is a no-brainer. So you'll have 2 more years, but I think they extend him, and I think they're going to get him towards the top of the market. And a lot of people are going to hate it, but I think it's the right move. Like kind of like we just talked to, like the context. It's not just him. There's other things at play, but my reasoning for why I think they will is you just look at the track record. Like, if they draft guys early and they're the right character fit as far as like swarm mentality, work ethic, locker room, team player, that's very, fundamental to them. And looking at the bigger picture too, like we're talking about, like, he had, I say, one bad playoff game and the other Steelers game was bad. I think one terrible and one bad. I think, again, the Steelers game is, in my opinion, getting overblown, but like, regardless, let's just say 2 terrible playoff games. That's 2 out of like 54 games. We're going to sit there and hyper focus on these 2 because they happened recently, or we're going to look at the whole picture and be like, to me, it's like when I see something, I'm like, all right, you've shown me who you are. Like, right. To me, it's the same with the Nico Collins. Like everyone was like, oh, Nico sucks. He only had 1 good year. It's like, bro, I don't care. I saw it. Like, I know who he is. So, like, I'm not going to, like, everyone's like, have him prove it again for a year. Why? You just saw it. Wait for him to prove it again, and then now his price is way higher.
It's up to the organization to get the best out of these guys when they've already showed it. That's the thing. Like you said, they showed it. CJ, one thing we know for sure, and you know that as being a guy like me who's a Houstonian and love all things Houston, the national media hates Houston. They've been like that a long time, and the reason why is because our teams and our city as a whole is a disruptor. Right, everything is about the coastal towns. You got, New York media, you got the Boston media, you got the LA media, you got the Bay Area media. They dominate most of these sports. What's the one city that always gets in their way? Whether it's the Astros at one time, whether it's the Rockets at one time, it's always the Texans, man. It's always Houston. So we're going to always receive the bad press because we're not amongst the elites, I'd say, when it comes to the fan base and the media coverage. So they really did a job on CJ. I felt like it was a horrible smear campaign, and they're trying to, what I call just a saying that I got amongst my people, is trick them out their spot. They're trying to trick Houston out their spot. So the CJ's gone, and then he goes somewhere else and shines, and now Houston is back in the situation looking for a quarterback.
It starts on the broadcast. Like, to me, like the broadcast has a lot of like weight into how narratives are portrayed just in any game. Like even like the Azeez Alshire hit, like the way Moose Johnson narrated that, like it was the worst thing you ever seen. Like that kind of set the table for, the fallout. And same with Stroud in that performance. Like it was bad, but like the way they were narrating it, they could have like been, whether this, they could have mentioned some stuff and it could have softened it. But like when they're all like,
that he's the youngest quarterback to ever win a playoff game. Why aren't you mentioning that he had the least interceptions ever for a rookie quarterback, like games in a row without throwing a pick? That this year he protected the ball up until the playoffs when he had some bad games. Like you're not hearing any of this stuff about Drake May. If you watch it's just Drake May, this young quarterback, he's great, and you look how important coaching is. Tyler Shuck was horrible. Tyler Shuck was horrible in college. Now he has who over there? A great offensive mind in Kellen Moore, who used to be a quarterback, who has a proven system that works in it. And how does this kid look? So organizationally, they have to do a better job with CJ and with giving him the type of coaching that he needs to succeed, man. That's the whole problem with me. And as I said, the narratives are just bad. I haven't heard anyone say anything about Justin Herbert. CJ has more wins than Justin Herbert's beating him in the playoffs head up. And you haven't heard anybody say, even though he's on his 9th season and he sucked in every playoff game he's played, no one talking about, the Chargers need to get off Herbert. Is he the guy? No, all they're saying is get him more help. Bring him Mike McDaniel. Hey, they have the quarterback. This guy is the only guy who's ever lost in the playoffs repeatedly with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh takes guys who have no business winning and teaches them how to win. J.J. McCarthy, Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is so limited coming out of college, bro. And then he comes to the 49ers with Harbaugh and becomes MVP candidate, wins multiple playoff games, gets to the Super Bowl. And
I
now
agree.
you're making every excuse for Justin Herbert because it's media coverage.
Josh
man.
Allen too, bro. Like, I'm not saying
Man,
Stroud
don't
is
even
Josh
bring him
Allen's
up.
level, but I mean, that shit drives me crazy. Like, he's played terrible, and it gets overlooked. Like,
He couldn't beat Bo Nix in the playoffs. Like Bo Nix, this is Bo Nix's first playoff game. But once again, another one.
And Josh Allen lost that game himself. Like, he lost the game.
He lost the game. But the narrative from the media, they want to just tear down CJ Stroud because they're trying to trick us out our spot. We have something really good going in Houston. We just have to back our young quarterback if you're a Houston fan. And also, we just got to hope that the organization does a better job of putting the right type of coaching around him where he succeeds. And I'm with you. I'm all the way for CJ.
So on that point, though, like, part of the reason why I think that they do extend him is, like, there's all this crap going on, all this negative talk, and I'm sure he people laugh at him when he comes up and he's like, I'm still confident. Like, oh, how are you so confident? Like you want him to be confident, but then you laugh when he says he is. But regardless, like, if he is, feeling whatever, this is a chance now. If they're convicted off the big picture, if they reward him, even though all the fans don't want it or whoever, and they invest in you, they signal like, hey, F all that, like, you're our guy, that puts that shit behind him. So, like, there's also value in that. Like, if you know who he is and you pay him now, and you do it now, that can, get you over that hump sooner. And, obviously the time value of money, if you wait and then he does ball out and now his price goes up, there's a lot that goes into it rather than just looking on, like, the immediate fallout from, a playoff game, to me, which was an anomaly.
And they just said CJ Stroud's agent did nothing. What you guys don't understand is CJ's agent is a disruptor. David Mogata is not liked by the media, bro, because he's one of those guys. First of all, he had Deshaun Watson, so that's automatically made him public enemy number one because he was able to get him the first guaranteed contract coming off of all of those allegations. So they don't like Mogata, and Mogata is also a guy that the Texans better be careful for as well, Garrett, because he already doesn't really like the organization because of the Watson situation.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Cal McNair was involved in that. So they better be careful that they treat CJ right, because if not, he's going to try to force a trade, bro. And it's going to be a lot of teams lined up willing to do it. So they should go ahead and extend them, get the deal done. But to answer my guy Ant's question, it's nothing Mogeta could have done, bro. He's not one of those agents like David Falk or someone who's tied in with the media. They don't like him. He's, an outsider when it comes to that, bro. So that's why that all went on.
Well, that's my last point on that. Like, it could get ugly. So, like, you also, like, if you are pretty majority convicted in him, what's the point in stringing it out and creating all this drama and friction when you can just avoid it? Like, and that's what Casario's done. Like, if we like you, you're a good guy, we're going to reward you. And he's shown he's willing to be early and overpay and allow that to, over time, return back low. It's not worth all the drama, bro.
No, it's not worth it. They're going to get him signed. They know what they have in the building. And D'Amico has to have enough self-awareness. Last thing about D'Amico, I'm going to tell you something, too. With him being a minority coach, too, Garrett, I think another thing that's made those hires what they have been in, with the offensive side of the ball is because I think he's scared to get a big name in there that might end up bumping them out if they have a bad year. As sad as it is to say, I really think that, and we see that with the new hiring cycle, how things went, that it's very limited jobs right now in the NFL for black coaches. So I think that bothered him some, and he liked to get guys that he kind of had under his wing. You know what I mean, Gary? Like guys that he think about it. Slopes his boy. He's not bucking him. He's not going to take his job. Nick Kelly, brand new guy. He's a young guy. He's under his wing. I don't know if he has enough confidence in his position. Hopefully he does now to go say, man, I'm going to go get a John Gruden. I'm going to go get a Clint Kubiak, because confidence in his position, man. So that's one thing to look at. They're desperately missing Joe Mixon. If Joe Mixon played against New England, I think the whole entire offensive system becomes a lot more complimentary, because we know that D'Amico's a defensive coach, so he's going to say run that ball. Woody Marks is a great alternative back. I don't think he could be a 3-down back, but it's his size. As you know, he was in the tent every game this season because of his size, because he's one of those kids who he has a lot more heart than he has brains. He's going to do what he needs to do to win. You want that type of guy on your team, electric player, but he'll be a lot better as, the HB2, in my opinion, and coming in on third down, coming in a couple series per game instead of, riding him. The bell cow would have been Mixon, because Mixon would have been punishing New England and would have been loving getting the ball and running it. Joe Mixon is huge. Another one. You can kind of coincide CJ's fall off with Tank Dell. You and I know Tank Dell is the real wide receiver one in Houston. Always has been. He's the guy that CJ tied his career to. He told him, go get him for me, and you saw that immediately they had an effect on the whole NFL. Those two are stars together. They had the whole NFL copying them. Their celebration in the end zone and stuff like that, the squabble up. They're two electric players, and he kind of gives CJ his swag. That's his boy. He needs him on the field with him. Do you have any news on what's going on with Tank Dell and Joe Mixon? Will they be in Texans uniforms, and will they be on the field next season?
Yes, I'm not really an insider, but obviously I follow everything. I listened to Casera this morning on Sports Radio 610, but I just real quick before that, like Joe Mixon, I agree. Like, Woody Marks, I was kind of like, can he be a one, an every down back or not? But like the thing for me with Woody is like, his vision isn't good. Like none of our backs created outside of the play. And maybe that's because he's a rookie and doesn't want to go out of structure, but like we never bounced the ball outside. And the reason why Joe Mixon was so good last year, our blocking was terrible, but like he just made something out of nothing like every play. He was literally cutting it back every play and making shit shake. But we never saw that, bro. So like
different physical specimen. Joe Mixon different, man. He's 6 foot 220, runner.
But not even that, just the mentality. Like I'm just a playmaker, bro. Like I'm gonna make shit shake. I'm just gonna go make a play. Like coach says it's 28 toss, or whatever. I'm gonna freaking break it backside for 30 yards. We didn't see that at all. Like there were so many cutback lanes or bounce outside lanes. We never did it, dude. So I think that alone would be a difference. But as far as Joe Mixon, Casero talked about him today, so I'm optimistic. I know fans get frustrated. Like it does sound like it was just, like from my understanding, and I don't know, but like just from hearing and talking to different people and listening to stuff, it does sound like it was a fluke thing. Like he had like a surgery and maybe something else happened. And then it sounds like it was a weird surgery, botched surgery type thing. And it was something that people didn't really know. And
might have maybe staff, man. That's what I think. I think he had some stuff going like what happened with Grant Hill, man.
It could be, yeah. I mean, like there was there was a offensive lineman I was looking at. He's a trainer now. He was a center, but like he almost had to get his leg amputated. So it could have been something like that, And it's something like where genuinely he doesn't know, they don't know, but then us fans like, what's wrong? It's like, well, we don't know. Like it could be good, it couldn't, regardless. So, but basically, Caserio said like we should know here pretty soon of where he's at medically. Like if he's good and he's healthy, he's under contract for one more year, you absolutely bring him back. And that's your hope. And you hope that he's back to 100% or even 90%. It's still better than what we had. And then as far as Tank Dell, it sounds promising. Like he sounds like he's going to be ready for the offseason. And, again, I think he's working out. I mean, he's going to be ready. I know he's in the building. They said he's been in there, the whole time. He's been there right after the season ended. And Caserio said like a smile's been on his face. I listened to him on a podcast the other day, but I don't know for a fact, but I would assume so if he's going to be doing workouts here pretty soon. But like, and to your point too, with Tank, the big thing about Tank is what I don't think people realize is how smart he is as a football player. Like that's what sticks out to me. Like he played at U of H under Shannon Dawson, the same coordinator that I put under at SFA, who's also the OC at Miami now, but he runs the Mike Leach West Coast offense that has a lot of this, IQ for receivers on when to throttle in zones, or if this guy does this, you can break here. It's kind of what we're seeing now, more so in this Patriots, Earnhardt, Perkins, Caley offense. So, and then just on top of that, he's just like an instinctive backyard baller. Like all the stuff we saw with Stroud and Tank Dell, like half their big plays is like, all right, extend the play. Okay, you should run here. And like wherever Stroud thinks he should go, he goes. Like they're see it the same way.
Exact wavelength.
I think hasn't had that
more than him and Nico, because I feel like that's why I was very optimistic about the New England game. We've seen CJ play some of his best ball when Nico wasn't there. And the reason why is because now he can go to Ohio State mode. Everybody can ball. I'm going to just get the ball to people. I think sometimes he feels like he has to get the ball to Nico, and he forces some things because, Nico's the big money receiver. He's the wide receiver one and things like that. And
he also doesn't trust anybody else too without Tank.
He don't trust anybody without Tank, man. And Nico, but I have high hopes for those Iowa State boys, man. I got high hopes for those boys, especially the one kid, what's the kid? I think he's the next
Jaden
Nico.
Higgins.
Jaden
Yeah.
Higgins. He's the next Nico. He just needs reps, man. He has it.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that really has it. So the future is definitely bright. But the last thing on Caley that disappointed me, the system that he runs, right, comes from the same one that he got from the Rams, right? And we know what do the Rams do good? And now Kevin O'Connell took that system as well and went to Minnesota. They do not let you take away their wide receiver one, whether it was Cooper Kupp, whether it was Puka Nacua. He doesn't do a good job of getting Nico uncovered. I thought the Nico would have a ridiculous year this year because I'm like, he's about to do the Jay Jettas. He's about to do the Puka Nacua. But I didn't see it. So, Nick Caley, you got to tighten up, brother. You got to tighten up. You're obviously going to be around another year. But, man, please don't waste another year of this team. Let's go on and get to the Super Bowl, man, because this Super Bowl, Garrett, it gives us a lot of hope as Texas fans because, as I said, this is the first time two defensive coordinators have been in the Super Bowl in a long time. It's an opinion around the league and a very offensive league that you got to have an offensive guy as the head coach in order to win it all. But these two coaches are showing that you can do it a different way. But once again, it all boils down to you have to hire the right guy to run your offense. So we got Super Bowl 60, Santa Clara, last game of the season. Seahawks are big favorites, in my opinion, because it's over 3 points in the Super Bowl, minus 4.5 versus a Patriots team that we're very familiar with now after, everything. And we also played the Seahawks early in the year, and they dominated the Texans, embarrassed them on Monday Night Football. We know both of these teams are very evenly matched. In your opinion, Garrett, how do you see this game going?
Man, it's tough. Obviously, you just surface level, you look at it like Seahawks are the more complete team. You look at like the run the Patriots had and the path that they had to get there. Obviously, apparently, is much easier. A Texans team that played terrible. The two basically had 2 cold weather games at home and then another slop fest in Denver against a backup quarterback. Their O-line has been terrible. Drake May's getting pressured. He's turning the ball over. On the flip side, Sam Darnold, dude, like I've been trying to be a hater of his all year, and he just he keeps balling, dude. Like at a certain point, you got to give him his respect. Like he's good. Like obviously, you have a vision of him from prior, but like the dude's balling, bro. And again, that can point out to your point of like having a good coordinator to mesh in the system and all that stuff. But yeah, so I mean, it's hard to say that the Seahawks don't roll, dude. I mean. Obviously the Nick Emmanwori news of him rolling his ankle the other day could be potentially troubling, but there's still some time left to get him back. But Mike McDonald that's a great matchup. Mike McDonald against Josh McDaniels, 2, masterminds on offensive and defensive side of the ball. But, after me seeing, so I thought that offensively in the pass rush for the Patriots, that this would be a better matchup for them against the Seahawks than the Rams, because the Seahawks, in my opinion, are an elite defense, but a lot of it kind of comes from, stunts and twists and disguises, stuff like that, whereas the Rams had more of the talent to beat you one-on-one. But that doesn't mean that it's still not a good one for them. So, with that front, Seattle can definitely be a disruptor to them and make some stuff shake. I mean, you got Jared Wilson at left guard, I believe, and then you have Will Campbell at left tackle. I believe they're both on the left side. You got 2 rookies starting in the Super Bowl on the left side of the line against that defense. Yeah. And then the run game for that'll be the big thing is the Seahawks run game. Kenneth Walker, dude, so underrated. We're talking about players like Joe Mixon making shit shake. That's what Kenneth Walker did. I mean, like, you're making guys missing the hole and getting 10, 15, 20 yards, and he bounces it outside every time.
Dude,
like, I watched that, and it drives me crazy.
We've been talking about, and not to cut you off, just you can get back to your point. Just when you bring up Kenneth Walker, all the OGs who've been riding with me on the Wagering World for 4 years, they know that I was so huge on Kenneth Walker at Michigan State. He was like one of my favorite players in all of college football, and that was one of the best years that Michigan State had because he was their running back. You can continue.
Yeah, and he's just a playmaker, right? I mean, like, the coach can only call up the play, and if it's not there, it's up to you to make something happen. So, but that'll be a challenge. Like, obviously, the Patriots defense, I think, is very underrated. Like, we're seeing how they did in the playoffs, that front 7, obviously Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, we talked about. But I will say too, I did watch a video from the Film Watchers guy. Not sure if y'all seen him, but this is something I had known, but he brought up a point that makes sense. So like, if there's any angles on your end, but you know, the Seahawks and a lot of teams like to do it, like D'Amico, a lot of people, and you know, Saleh, as far as defense, they like to run quarters a lot of time, or cover 6, which is 2 and 4. But on the backside of trips, they like to, you know, run man one-on-one with that guy, and then kind of have the rest of the covers to the rest of the field. And so that's where we saw Derek Stingley basically have a one-on-one backside of a trips against Kayshon Boutte, who they had a perfect throw and perfect catch for a touchdown. So there will be some opportunities for them to have that same, because Seattle does that too from time to time, that same one-on-one look. So now it's potentially Kayshon Boutte or Kyle Williams with a one-on-one deep ball, which to me, Drake May is one of, if not the best deep ball vertical down the field outside the numbers thrower. He throws that throw perfectly, dude. So, yeah. But I mean, I still think that the Seahawks roll, dude. I just don't. They do have the edge experience-wise with Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniel. Obviously, you know, Mike McDonald, and then now Clint Kubiak, much younger. You got the element of Clint Kubiak taking the Raiders job. Is that going to distract him? But I just think they're the far better team, man. You know, I could be wrong, could blow up in my face, but I just don't see how the Seahawks don't roll. Like, they've been doing it all year.
I'm glad that you're on that side so I can present the argument, because I'm definitely, you know, I'm a sports bettor, so I'm coming at a little bit different angle than you as someone who just is going by film. Mm-hmm. I love the Patriots in this spot. And the reason why is this number has ballooned, and it's because people aren't taking into account that the Patriots have played bad weather games, right? All through the playoffs, Vrabel has had to adjust to the weather, whereas in the Seahawks were at home, they had some pleasant weather, and we saw Sam Darnold play the best ball he's played of his career in the playoffs. He's done a really good job with that. Drake May has been getting sacked all season, man. So we know that the Seahawks are going to probably get to him. They're going to probably, you know, dominate Will Campbell, as we said, and those rookies on that side. But the thing about sports is this, as in the Patriots and Josh McDaniels has mastered this. As the game goes on longer and longer, that rush slows down a little bit because people get tired. It's only natural, right? And the Patriots have been dealing with this dilemma with the blocking their whole year. Look, Drake May is 7-0 in games he's been sacked 4 times or more. That's unbelievable. Also, he's a guy who's been sacked 5 times each game in the playoffs. They still won. So it's ways around that. The thing that I like the most is that New England's offense is very explosive, the most explosive in the NFL. 19.4% explosive pass rate. That's for 15-plus yard gains on straight drop backs. They're only behind the Rams. And what did the Rams do to the Seahawks both times that they played? Well, the last 2 times that they played them. They were able to drop 30 on them, you know, and they were able to do a lot of damage to them. And I think that Josh McDaniels is smart enough to study a lot of that tape from Sean McVay, apply it, and put it into his system as well. Another thing to look at in this game is this: Vrabel and Josh McDaniels' experience. Josh McDaniel has been in 10 Super Bowls, won 6. Started out as a quarterback coach, went to the defensive side for a little bit, and he's been now the offensive coordinator, I believe, since 2006 with the Patriots. So a lot of big game experience in these situations. Details. Vrabel is a details guy. He's going to find an edge. And another thing is, when they're the underdogs as they are, oh, man, there's so many great teaching points for Vrabel, you know, in the locker room, and to have those guys ready to play. Another thing that I'm going to be looking at on this one is Sam Darnold's penchant to turn the ball over. Yep. Even though he's played clean in the playoffs, he led the entire NFL in turnovers. He had 20. The most.
I think we can say real quick too is like the Niners defense was bad, and the Rams defense was kind of getting overhyped. So I mean,
the Patriots are going to play assignment football. We know that. That's one thing that we know. They're going to be where they're supposed to be at. The thing to look at in this one is Vrabel taking away Sam Darnold's first read. Clint Kubiak makes life easy with him with that. Darnold is as good as they come on that first read when it's available. He leads the league in yards per attempt when pulling the trigger on his primary read. He's 4th highest graded quarterback out of 32 in those circumstances. But in circumstances where the first read is taken off, he plummets, man. He goes all the way down. I see that Vrabel takes a page from his old coach, Bill Belichick, man. And they're going to make him play left-handed. They're going to take away his first read. They're going to take away JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's just – he already might be the best receiver in the league. He's a kid. He wanted to come to Houston with CJ, too. I hate that we didn't get him, man. That would be special. When you force Donald off his primary read, he becomes really pedestrian, man. In those situations where they moved him off his first read, he ranks 22nd of 32 quarterbacks in his completion percentage. Also, if he looks beyond his target, his initial target as well, Garrett, he's thrown just 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, man. And that places him in top 10 in turnover-worthy play rate, man. So the thing is this is a different type of scheme. 2 weeks for Vrabel to get ready for him. Come on, man. Yeah. They're going to be on the film. We know that Boston, just as a whole, that whole city is a really collegiate, brainiac area. And the Patriots have always been smarter than everyone. That's what they pride themselves on. They've had all types of random guys out there wearing that Patriots uniform. Nothing changes. It's the same thing. They're going to out-scheme you. They're going to come more prepared than you are. As I said, he had 20 turnovers, the most in the league, 14 interceptions. He just played clean the last 2 games. So that's something to look at. And Smith and Jigba is huge for this. The reason why is when he's looking toward him, he's 146 quarterback rating when he's throwing to Jigba inside of man-to-man coverage. When they decide to go zone, 116, so if they can eliminate him, we're going to see a completely different Sam Darnold. And I think that can definitely happen. Kudos to Sam Darnold for changing his career. He's had 30 wins in the last 2 seasons. That's a record for quarterbacks. He's the first USC quarterback. There's 26 quarterbacks from USC has been drafted. Storied university. None of them played in the Super Bowl. He's the first one who's ever played the Super Bowl. And it's usually because I don't like quarterbacks like that because they always have all of the talent on the offensive line and outside on receivers. So you can't get a good judge of what type of player they are because they're better than everybody at every position in the Pac-12 back then. So now I think that they finally have a quarterback in there because Sam Darnold just has tools. He's a guy that can throw the ball really well. He can scramble. He's a playmaker quarterback. But we know one thing about him, man. Clint Kubiak has helped him so much by allowing him to stay in the system. When he gets outside the system, it's problems. And that's why
and he's had a run game. If they stop the run game, which the Patriots' run defense is really good. And then not only that, I'm being a hypocrite in the sense that I'm saying, as far as CJ Stroud talk, don't hyper focus on the recent, but then I'm hyper focusing on the recent as far as the Seahawks have propped them up and, their opponents may not be what they thought they were. Whereas, with the Patriots, the big knock on them, even going to the Texans game, their schedule was weak, but it turns out it may have been, but they maybe are still good. So that's part of it. I probably have a little bit of emotional side of it too. Is man, I don't want the Patriots to win. They beat us. So that's probably back there somewhere, but you're making a lot of good points. But then also too, has Sam Darnold under pressure? Has he faced a lot of pressure? You got Milton Williams, who won a Super Bowl last year and basically won it for the Eagles last year against the Chiefs. Yeah. Him and Christian Barmore, if they're going against, I believe Bradford is their right guard and Gray Zabel, who's a rookie who I'm really high on. But if they're able to generate pressure on the interior there, we saw how interior pressure affects the game. So you're making a lot of good points. I honestly, I'm just going to enjoy it. I hope you're right. I would like to see a good game. But I wouldn't be surprised by everything you're laying out. That's all good stuff.
It's going to be a classic. I think it's going to be a classic. And I think that the Patriots are going to steal this game at the end because Drake May's feet, he's ran for 450 yards this year, 4 touchdowns, but most importantly, 27 first downs. Those are backbreakers for defenses when they get in these
third and long too.
Long, and he takes off. As you know, he's an extremely great athlete. He probably could have been in the NBA just as well as the NFL. He comes from a hooping family. His family's dad and his brother Luke May were both hoopers at North Carolina, man. He chose the football route, and he's one of the best young quarterbacks that we've seen. But the thing also, Seattle, as we just talked about with CJ Stroud, we're okay, how are you going to hold him to these last 2 games when throughout his career he showed this? That's the same way I got to do with Darnold. Even though
I agree. He's a turnover machine.
He's a turnover machine. And even this year with all their success, led the league in turnovers, man. 14 interceptions, 6 fumbles given away. Seattle as a whole was -3 with their turnover margin this year because they don't turn you over a lot on defense. So that's something to look for. And then the Patriots were +3 with their turnover margin. And these are the details that I think are so integral to this game because Mike Vrabel, man, Mike Vrabel, I think so highly of him. Guys who've been watching the show know at the beginning of the year when Spread Astaire and I did our NFL preseason show, we were saying, what was the biggest offseason moves? He said a player. I can't remember who he said. I think Devontae Adams for the Rams, he said. I said the biggest move was Mike Vrabel coming to New England, getting his dream job, getting a chance to go back to the dynasty he helped build. All of the intel, all of the data that Mike Vrabel has in his brain from Bill Belichick, his own experience with the Texans as a defensive coordinator, being the only guy who had 10 catches for 10 touchdowns. You know, he's a different type of football guy. He's a football guy if it's ever been a such thing as Mike Vrabel, man. So I think he's going to have those boys ready to play, man.
That really attention to detail, dude, like we talked about prior, like him cleaning the gloves, like that's been bred into him through the Belichick era. Like they were, like you said, they find any way they can to find an edge. Like you think of like an Ernie Adams where they're like doing all kind of crazy stuff. Like, yeah, that stuff matters in these big games. Every little, decimal point of an edge adds up. So, I mean, yeah, whereas you got Mike McDonald, who I think really highly of, but like he's inexperienced. And Mike Vrabel's been on this stage a number of times. So, I mean, you're making some good points.
He's very inexperienced. And then now you go from, okay, so I'll give the offensive edge to the Patriots. How can you not? I mean, the second highest rated offense in the league is just what we've seen lately, but it was a lot to do with weather and also defense.
That's true.
They faced
two of the best defenses, yeah.
And now it's about to be the third. So they've already been battle tested, and now they don't have to deal with the weather. And they have a brainiac offensive coordinator. They have a detail-oriented head coach. They're a team that when they put on that Patriots uniform, they're used to being successful and winning as well. Patriots were 9-0 on the road this season. This is essentially a road game because they're not at their stadium. 9-0 on the road. That's something to look at. Now let's go to special teams. Our boy right from Houston, Marcus Jones.
Yep, facts.
What kind of this guy has the all-time punt return yards per average punt return in league history. He averages 17.5 yards. It's number one. But guess who's number two? Rashid Shaheed, who the Seahawks picked up. He's number two. So that's going to be very important in this game is the special teams as well, man. But I do think that I give the advantage to New England because of details. You got Brendan Schuler, who we saw with the Texas game, is a maniac on coverage, man. He's a really good special teams guy. And as I said, I think that Marcus Jones is going to make enough plays in order to set up field position for the offense. I just like the Patriots in this, man. I got to take the points, and I'm going to actually take the money line. I think that they can get this one done, man, at plus 205. I'd be a fool not to. I know that the Seahawks have been really hot. They've been playing good, but they've been off now 2 weeks. Let's see if they're able to translate how good the offense has been, or does Darnold turn back to what we've seen long term? Long term, we've seen even last year in the playoffs with Minnesota. What did he do? He turned the ball over. So
it's funny. I've been waiting for him to turn back into a pumpkin, so to speak. But then all of a sudden he beats the Rams, and all of a sudden I just fully flip the switch. Nope, he's fixed. So it's funny. But just 3 weeks prior, I was still having that same is he going to mess up? He's going to choke. But it's funny how one game can all of a sudden mentally just change your opinion on that. So that is true. I mean, it's still in him, man.
This is a great point by Ant. He's been giving me some great points. Thank Ant. We appreciate the knowledge that you're sharing with us. Vrabel knows every player that comes from Ohio State. He's a diehard Ohio State guy. He's got all the intel from Brian Hartline and those guys about JSN. You can believe that.
That might have happened with Stroud too, the way they game planned him. Now you think about it, they might have known his weaknesses and they might have forced him into that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's for sure. All right, now let's talk about some props real quick. You guys already know I'm on the Patriots plus 4.5. Some props that I definitely like. I like the Patriots to have the longest punt return in the game. We just talked about Marcus Jones and his effect. Rashid Shaheed is really good as well, too. But I think New England covers a little bit better than the Seahawks do. And it, once again, comes down to details. Throughout history, these are the two best punt return guys in league history by yards average per return. Marcus Jones is 14.3 throughout his career. Rashid Shaheed is 13.2. So very explosive players. But this season, Marcus Jones has the fifth most return yards of all time, and he also scored 2 touchdowns on punt returns as well. So give me the Patriots to have more, have the longest, punt return in the game. I also like them to have more return yardage. My book didn't have it, but I did see for the longest punt return in the game is at -105 for the Patriots. So I love that one. Another one that I love too, Garrett, is this is probably my favorite prop of them all. A defensive or special teams touchdown is at +235. We just talked about Marcus Jones. We talked about Rashid Shaheed, Trevion Henderson in the kick return game, and 2 very opportunistic defenses. And what did I just talk about? The first read that Sam Darnold throws is usually out routes. He threw the most out routes on first reads in the entire NFL this year. You best believe Vrabel will be on it. And we saw from the Texans matchup how aggressive New England's corners are. They've always been that way. That's the way Belichick teaches them. You hold, you play tight, you play sticky. They can't call it every play. They're going to jump on one of those out routes. They're going to jump on one of those out routes to JSN. I love that one as one. I also love the Patriots to score a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown at +575. 2 quarterbacks, as I said, that both have turned the ball over this season. So defenses both can get in for either team. So that's a really good value play for me with a defensive or special teams touchdown at +235, and also the Patriots at +575 to score a defensive or special teams touchdown. I'll also find for you guys Marcus Jones to score a touchdown. It's really high. I'll give it to you guys when we get to the Ball Parlay so that you can have that one as well. All right, enough about the Super Bowl. You guys know where I'm at on that one. Let's get a little bit to the future now. My guy just is fresh back from the Senior Bowl. Got a lot of intel for us, man. How was that experience for you going to the Senior Bowl? Is it still in Mobile? Is it in Mobile, Alabama?
Yeah, it's in Mobile. Okay. Yeah, man, it was surreal, man. It was my first time, and I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I'm just like a fan who created a page and all this stuff, and like, am I media? Am I not media? But like, I got to go and kind of like see what it was like to be like legit media in a sense, to go like interview players. And I'm there. Like, as soon as I get there, I got out of my car. I'm trying to like meet up with my friend that I made friends with, like a Niners guy, and I'm on the phone, and someone says like, "Hey, what's up, Stressans?" And it's freaking Cole Popovich, the Texans O-line coach.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, but before that, I pull up and I see Caserio talking to Drew Rosenhaus. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Like, this is wild. Right. Like, he's right there. I'm like, all right, don't interrupt him. Like, he's doing his thing. And then all of a sudden, Cole Popovich approaches me. I talked to him for like 10 to 15 minutes, like super chill, super down-to-earth guy. And then, they have 2 practices throughout the day. And after each one, you can go on the field for 10 minutes to talk to players. So go down there, interview a couple of players, turn around, and I see Nick Caserio and Frank Ross. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, what's up, Nick? I'm so-and-so. And he's like, yeah, I know who you are. I was like, damn, dude, that's crazy. So talked to Nick Caserio. Couldn't have been a nicer, cooler guy. Like, obviously I have my criticisms for him as a fan, whatever you want to call me. So I was like, yeah, sorry if I am ever too harsh. He's like, no, man, y'all got a job to do or whatever. Y'all, you just love football. Like, no, I get it. So like, hearing that from him, like, man, this guy is like super down to earth. Like, he don't give a crap about us. Like, in your head, you think that like, oh, they might get upset. Like, they don't care. Right. But it shows that they also know and see stuff online. But so it was dope to see him and Frank Ross. Frank Ross is awesome. They were actually talking about, people don't want to hear it, but there was a John Carroll receiver, Tyron Montgomery, who's got a pretty special story of like how he wound up there. But he like balled out that first day, and like they were just like glowing, like, man, you see that John Carroll guy? I was like, yeah, man. I was actually tweeting, making jokes when as soon as I saw his name, I was like, y'all are gonna draft him, because they're both from John Carroll. So is Nick Caley.
Are they?
Yeah. So there's a
Nick
big
Caley
John
and Caserio went to John Carroll.
Yeah. And there's like there's 1 or 2 more. There's like a guy, and so that's like people talk about the Patriot stuff. There's also like the John Carroll stuff, but supposedly John Carroll, it's in Canton, Ohio, and it's like known to be, it's a Division III school, I believe. It's like known to be like a breeding ground for coaches. Like like Nick Caley went there already knowing I want to play there to learn to be a coach. Like that's what he said. Yeah. So there's that element too, and the kids from the Woodlands too. So it's like, man, like I know we joke.
Woodlands.
Yeah, but like look him up. Look at it, Tyron Montgomery. Look him up. And you'll see him on Twitter.
What kind of size does he have?
I think he's kind of like me, like a typical Z receiver, like 6'1", 190. He's like a Z type receiver. I would say more of like a Z,
Or Z? Okay.
like opposite of Nico is
Yeah,
what I mean. But he could do slot, yeah. But he's like athletic, going up, making plays.
What stood out with him for you? Was his hands? Was
I
his
think he had a
balls,
basketball
right?
background, so it's kind of like Tank Dell type movements, like
Okay.
like kind of wiggle and like stick. And he went up and got the ball a couple times too, like covered, went up and got it. So I mean, kind of like a basketball player type. And he's explosive, and
From Houston, he played some good high school football as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That'll be a good look late. You can never have enough weapons, when it comes to offense.
Yeah, I mean, his story is like he somehow got thrust in there last second and then balled out. Like, he was one of the top receivers, bro. Like, up there with all these big dogs. And I forget his story. Like, I don't know if it was family and went here and then went there. Like, everyone who ends up, going somewhere small, like, there's a reason why. Like, I think he was, I may be wrong, but I think he was going to be a walk-on to play basketball at LSU.
Okay.
And then I think COVID happened. And then, like, his brother was a quarterback at, like, a small school. And so he started running routes for him, and his brother's like, bro, like, you should play receiver. And then he went and played receiver. Like, I think that's what it is. So he's new to the game. But yeah, he had a couple releases, like good diamond releases on slants, showing like that outside move and a good jab step and juking guys. But overall, like, I went into it as far as like the Texans angle. For me, I think we need O-line, obviously.
Yeah.
Potentially running back. Potentially tight end, like a blocking tight end is what I want, who can be a good receiving tight end. And then, interior defensive line. So I mostly watch the trenches. I actually have access to the film and kind of watching the film as well. But, so guys I was looking at was Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech. Like a third, fourth round pick. He's a guard who can play probably both guards and center. I thought he did pretty well, but the main thing with him is like he's a bigger guy and he's a mauler and he's like finished to the whistle, got the right attitude. He actually, his, junior year had a car wreck, almost had his foot amputated and played through an injury and, didn't play as good, but then balled out this year. So he's like super tough, has got like the JJ Watt video of him, like with the bloody nose on the sideline.
Yeah.
So I watched him. Jennings Dunker was somebody,
I saw you guys
from
were
Iowa.
having a great time together. You kind of hit it off, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't get to meet Jennings Dunker, but I mean, I saw him. Like, my buddy told me before, like, this is my guy, and like as soon as the first practice happens, walkthroughs, I'm like, this guy just stands out. He's like a big ginger dude with a mullet and a mustache.
Yeah.
Got his shirt rolled up and his pant legs rolled up. His legs are just like massive.
He's an Iowa guy, right?
Iowa, yeah. And what's crazy for me is like most linemen are like big, but he's like big and like vascular almost. He's like a muscular big guy.
Right.
But he's a tackle who can project to play guard. He did pretty well. You try not to in the Senior Bowl overanalyze it because, to me, it all leans towards defense, the way it's all set up, just different dynamics. So, but he's a mauler too, got a great mindset, personality. Max Ihanakor, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, from Arizona State's a guy that caught my eye, a tackle, potentially guard flexibility, but he's a guy who's raw. He has really great feet. He's like from, some other country like Nigeria or something like that. And early in his life, moved to America and played basketball and also soccer, and then didn't play football until college. He went to a JUCO and then to Arizona State. So he's super raw, but like because of his background with soccer and basketball, his feet are really light for a tackle. So I liked him. A lot of other people liked him. You got Jake Slaughter, center from Florida, who can probably play other spots, who is pretty decent. There's a couple other Iowa guys that were okay. Again, it's tough to evaluate these guys. I thought Crownworth from A&M, the tackle, was pretty good. Like, he seemed like a pretty good mauler. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head of some other guys on O-line, but I was looking at tight end too. So Sam Roush is a guy from Stanford who is renowned as like the best blocking tight end, did well blocking, and showed me some stuff receiving where he's pretty good, and got to interview him, and just seeing him in person, like, this is like, if you imagine a tight end, like, this is like, between like height and weight, like he's like exactly that. He's like 6'6", 250, from Stanford. So that was someone I liked at tight end. The A&M tight end too, Nate Borkacher. I think he could be a sleeper, dude. He's another great blocking tight end, not as good as Sam Roush, and but he showed some good stuff receiving too. Made a lot of plays, physical, going up and getting it. Positions that may or may not pertain to us. Kyle Lewis, linebacker from Pitt, mid to late round guy who is like one of the best cover linebackers I've seen. Bud Clark, safety from TCU. Maybe we could, fill a need at a strong safety potentially. Yeah. He was balling out, making plays. Interior defensive line, Caleb Banks, inconsistent, but interviewed him, saw him. Dude is just a monster. He's like 6'6". He's almost like a Chris Jones build at defensive tackle.
From Florida, right?
From Florida. Yeah. He had a foot injury prior. He was like, projected top 15 pick and then had a foot injury and inconsistent. But then people saw the flashes there. His pad level needs to be down, but like he could be a legit disruptor. Interviewed him too. Like I was trying to interview guys to like get a sense for their personality too, because I know swarm is a thing for them, to see if I can extrapolate any of that. And he seemed to fit that. Like he has the right mindset. But there's a lot of defensive tackles. I noticed like any defensive tackle in that practice and one-on-ones that had a maroon helmet was good. There's a guy from Bama, Keenan Allen, I believe is his name, or something Keenan, not Keenan Allen. And then there's also a guy from Oklahoma. I forget his last name, but there were several like good, defensive tackles, edge rushers. We could maybe get an edge rusher, but TJ Parker was there. He balled out. Zion Young from Missouri. These are guys that we probably won't get too early. So a lot of talent, man. I love it.
Is a player, man. He can play, and he has the type of attitude that'll fit really well with our scheme. I think that the most thing that we're going to be probably addressing, of course, offensive line, got to bolster that so that the run game can be a little bit more effective. And also, I think we need an explosive tight end. Definitely, we need a playmaker tight end, but they might go get that in free agency, because I have heard a lot of noise about that. We were interested in several of the tight ends that are coming up, and then D-tackle for stopping the run, because we don't have a lot of weaknesses on the defense, but one of the areas they could shore up would definitely be run stopping with the defensive tackles and with the linebackers. I was looking over different draft mocks and stuff, and I'm seeing Caden Proctor. I don't know if he's going to get to us, because he's a very popular guy at tackle, man. And he's my pick. I think that you could take him, and then if they could let Ed Ingram go, and then they could either slide Caden inside, or they could still keep him outside, man. He got 40 starts, in college. He's probably the most popular tackle, and you saw that the way that they used him, they even threw him the ball sometimes. So he's definitely a great athlete. At any time you got a lineman coming, just like the kid you mentioned from Iowa, Alabama, you like those guys working offensive line for you. And also, who else did you mention that stuck out to me about on defensive line? Oh, the kid from Florida. He's also good as well. I'm also hearing a little about Blake Miller. If they got him, that would probably mean that they would switch Titus Howard to left guard, and then they keep Urseri, of course. He's probably the best young lineman that we have right now. But they're saying he's rock solid. At Clemson, he had 54 starts, just gave up only 2 sacks and only 2 blown run assignments. So that's really good. And Daniel Jeremiah is predicting that we take the Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. I'm not familiar with him as much. Is he an underclass?
He's nice. I don't know if he is, but I watched his tape, and he's a stud left tackle who can play right tackle. I need to look at Miller too, but I mean, for me, like I love, like, so a lot of these guys weren't at the Senior Bowl that you're talking about, but for me, like I love the position we're in. Like I feel like our needs, although we do need offensive line, and obviously it's still early, there's free agency, like it's not as glaring in the position we're in. The positions we need that we're talking about, I feel like there's plenty of options. And I do feel like they will probably get an offensive lineman. They love this versatility. I know a lot of us hate it. Like we want to know our 5 and that's it, but they like guys that can play inside, outside.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys we're mentioning can do that. And so, I mean, I think it's a prime spot to trade back, and you still get one of these names we're mentioning.
Yeah, you can trade back. My boy Lance Zerline, shout out Lance. I'll be on his show.
I saw Lance at the Senior Bowl, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, that's my dog, man. That's a good dude. Him and John Granada, them the homies right there, man. Hall of Fame radio duo, and man, it's Houston as it comes. Those two, I'll be with them tomorrow on ESPN 97.5, back home where it all started for me at, man. I'll be on the bench actually at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So you guys.
Tell him I said what up.
I definitely will. You know that I wouldn't be surprised if Lance is watching the show right now. But Lance is saying in his mock that he sees the Texans taking Caden McDonald from Ohio State, who's a playmaker. He's a monster. So if he's able to fall to them, I don't know if D'Amico with his defensive background will be able to pass up on a player like him. And Matt Miller, who's also a really good draft dude, is saying that we're going to look at Dylan Thiemann, who's the Oregon safety. That kid is a ball hawk. He's everywhere. And they said if they get him, we could bring him closer to the line. They're looking maybe second round at pick 38 if he's available. And then they were saying that Caleb Bullock, you know what Caleb is, he could just roam now and make things happen. But the consistent pick, and I saw that you said this kid as well, was Jadarian Price. I love Jadarian Price. And he had so much tread left on the tire because, as you know, Jeremiah Love was the lead back on that team. So he has a lot of juice, man. When he came in the game for Notre Dame, he was really good at pass blocking. He was good in the pass game. And, man, he reminds me of Zach Charbonnet. He runs really hard, you know, really a lot of straight line speed, a lot of explosiveness.
And kick return.
And he can kick return. So Texans Wires has us taking them. And you also said that you expect us maybe looking at him too, right?
Yeah, and again, too, like I kind of like hate doing mock drafts because it's like, especially before free agency, and I know they don't draft for need, but it's like, you know, like if Joe Mixon if he's back and good, then it's like, okay, it's kind of hard to justify that. But yeah, I mean, him and even Jonah Coleman, like the Washington running back, I mean, but you know, we talked about it, like whether it's free agency or draft, we need something at running back. So yeah, shout out Black Lion, that's my guy. He knows what he's talking about. But
yes, for sure. Yeah, my guy. Shout out my boy Joey, my Rustin homie, man. What's up, Joe? He says Nussmeier look good at QB. Nuss, you know, before Nuss got injured, I kind of comped him to Tony Romo, so he definitely might have an opportunity to play at the next level. I just don't see us. We don't, in my opinion, even if Davis Mills moves on, is Davis Mills a free agent or they would have to trade?
We got one more year on him.
Keep him. Keep Davis Mills. I like Davis Mills because he's one of the top backups in the league. He's very humble, a team guy, so he's not like trying to take CJ's position or take, you know, none of that.
He knows his role, and he's a professional backup, bro. And people want to make it more than what it is. Like it can be that CJ Stroud is good and struggled, and Mills is a great backup and played well. It doesn't mean that this guy's better. Like, you know,
everyone
drives me crazy, bro.
Until they become the QB1 for the whole season. You know,
bro. I watched the Cowboys documentary on Netflix, and I was reminded that Troy Aikman had his fucking job. Sorry, he had his job taken the third year by, I forget the guy's name, and he came back.
Steve Walsh.
Is it Steve Walsh?
Walsh from Miami? Yeah.
But he had his job in his third year. He had his job. He got hurt, and then the backup came in. They went on a run. They won like 7, 8, 9 in a row, something crazy. And then Aikman was healthy the last week of the regular season. They said, "No, we're going to save you for the playoffs." Come playoffs, Jimmy John's like, "No, we're going to sit you and ride the hot hand." They benched him in the playoffs and won, and then benched him again and lost. Yeah. And so, like, that's just a reminder, like, this isn't the only time this has happened. And I'm not saying that means that Stroud will be Troy Aikman, but it was good to be like, okay, like, look, this stuff happens, dude. Like, I mean, it's happened to a lot of good quarterbacks. I mean, now it's different in this day and age as far as benching a guy because it's just a different dynamic for the NFL. But, like, it's not new for young quarterbacks to have these adversities and, you know, these circumstances.
We're in a really good position. We got a kid who's done more than all of these guys that the media love in only 3 years. And he came in with a rookie head coach, man, and did all of this good work, man. We're not going to allow the media to trick us out our spot, man. We're in a really great position right now for the Texans. Speaking of, now, what's your expectations for 2026, 2027 season? What do you think we see from the Texans? Do we take back the AFC South? The AFC South is going to be really more competitive with Robert Saleh and my guy from that used to coach the Giants going over now to be the OC, and Dayball already wanted Cam Ward, as you know, and that's our boy. You know, we've been talking Cam Ward before it was cool. Cam, if I ever see Cam, if you run into him, you give him my number. He owes me some money. he owes me some money. You know why? Because when he was at Incarnate Word, one of the guys who followed me back then and followed my plays was a Miami alumni. And he was like DMing me and asking me, like, "Hey, man, you really think this kid is good?" I say, "Man, do some tape on him. I'm telling you, he's the guy." Ends up where Cam goes and signs with Wazoo. He goes to Washington State because his connection to the
Eric
OC.
Morris.
Yes, exactly, who was at Incarnate Word. He goes over there with him because that's his boy. Immediately after that, he goes to Miami, and my boy hits me in the DM. I still had a DM. He was like, "Man, we appreciate you, man, because we would have never known about this guy. He's electric." So Cam, you owe me just a small finder's fee.
Man.
for pubbing you, man, like I did. I used to love Josh Allen like that in Wyoming, too, and talked a lot about him when people didn't know him. But what's the outcome do you see for this year? As we said, we already know Nick Caley seems like he's going to be back again. Can Nick Caley take a step forward and get CJ on the right page? Most of the defense is coming back. We're not losing anyone in free agency important on defense, right?
No, defense is pretty much rock solid. I mean, on the interior, some of those rotational defensive tackles, we got guys, Sheldon Rankins up for renewal. I believe Tim Settle Jr. would come off an injury. Mario Edwards is a guy's, potentially a cut candidate, but defensive tackle, whether we re-sign all those guys or draft or whatever, like I'm not too worried about that spot. Like,
no, D tackle is easy to find now
especially in that scheme when you got those two.
Yeah,
but
it's a lot easier now. It's a space.
But not even that. But like with D'Amico Ryans, like we saw these veteran defensive tackles, and they end up being like all world. It's like so I'm not too worried about that. But so defense. I mean, think about it. I guess the defense was elite and should have been considered historically great, but the offense let them down. And now they're coming back with another year, all the same guys. Like they should be even better next year.
Kwame Lassiter is ready to be an All-Pro. He's going to be.
He should have been considered. And Kalen Bullock. We could have two All-Pro corners. We could have an All-Pro safety and Kalen Bullock.
Two All-Pro safeties because we know.
And Jalen Petrie.
Petrie is like the leader of the whole defense. Really, if you just want
another guy that people did not want to extend to think that he wasn't good and he needs to prove it another year.
Shout out his dad. His dad worked at the post office for years with my homie Gino, man. I don't know if Gino's in here right now. He watches the show a lot too, but they worked at the post office forever, and he was telling, man, I'm telling you my son. I'm telling you about my son. He went to Baylor.
Dog, dude.
And now because they're right from Stafford, man. They're right down the street. So I love that entire defense, man. So we
could have 5 All-Pro, but anyway, so I think the defense will be better. I agree. The division is tougher than what it was, and we'll continue to project that way. But I mean, it should be the same. Like we should be right where we were. We should, I know last year was the year to make the AFC, or this year was the year to make the AFC Championship game. That should be, if we don't get there, then stuff really might start to shake up. I do expect CJ Stroud to come back with the vengeance and improve year 2 in this system. I do think that's a big part of the struggles was, like we talked about earlier, the receivers being on the same page. So, another year of those guys in there, maybe, slot will be interesting to me to see what they do. Like Kirk is a free agent. He was underwhelming. I thought he was going to be that veteran who knew how to run all these option routes, but it seemed like they weren't on the same page. So he wasn't that security blanket for Stroud. So is Jalen Noel now thrusting that, or do they move Tank to the slot? Because now he kind of has that mental side of it and that chemistry.
I missed one thing. I'm sorry. I didn't keep up with the contract on that. Is he returning? Because he was our best receiver in the playoffs. Was it a 1-year deal?
Christian Kirk? Yeah, it was a 1-year deal.
Yeah, we got to let him go. You got too much young talent behind him.
They paid him too much. I mean, he balled out in the playoffs, but it's like, man, now, like, you could have but the big thing will be, so I think the offense can improve. I think there'll be a lot of changes, and I hope that they really pour into the offense personnel-wise, O-line, running back, tight end, and give CJ some weapons. As bad as Caley has been or his moments, I think he can still improve. I think a lot of it was made worse by he wants to be an interior rushing team, and your interior O-line sucks. So, I mean, Jake Andrews, they'll probably bring him back, but, like, could they decide to upgrade at center? And, it's probably unlikely to make a run at someone like Tyler Linderbaum, but, like, do they find someone in the draft or, elsewhere, another free agent or trade? Like, that's a big thing, too. It's offseason. We all look at free agents. Caserio likes to trade for guys that are fringe cut players. So, there's probably names out there that none of us are thinking free agency that are basically free agents via trade. But I think Stroud will bounce back. Like, I know what I saw. He played a great year last year until the playoffs. It wasn't flashy, sexy. He played within the system, played smart football. And then, the big thing for me was the big thing last year. It's more evident after the end of this season is getting a first round bye if possible, or even a 2-seed or a 3-seed. Yes. You need a home game in the playoffs. Like maybe worst case is Stroud just sucks in the cold, even though we hate to hear it. Like maybe that is true. Okay, well then get a home game at NRG. We know how the Texans defense is at NRG. So that's the focus, is don't start off slow. We started off slow last year because of the offense and figuring things out. And if not for that, we could have won, all 5 of those games we lost in the, first 8 games, and you could be looking at a top seed, and that could have changed the whole outlook. So I feel good about it.
Yeah, I feel really good about them. I think that it's their division still to lose, even though I do like what Liam Cohen has showed. That's probably now our rivalry in the division is Jacksonville, but Tennessee will be coming because they've always had a defensive identity over there. And now you got Robert Saleh. So that's good. And he made an excellent hire at the OC position. We're going to see a real jump in Cam Ward's play, man, with Dayball now coaching. So we have to be careful of that Tennessee Titans team as well. Overall, I expect it to be a really strong division, but I expect a great season and a bounce back season for CJ and that offense. Hopefully, him and Kayla can get on the same page, man. That's what I'm really hoping about. And also, a thing to look for with the Texans this season as well is, can we get Joe Mixon back in the fold? If not, can we find a bell cow running back in order to feed the ball to, so we can shorten these games and allow the defense to dominate the game? That's very important to what the Texans are trying to do, because CJ is such a tantalizing, quarterback with his ability to put the ball any spot all over the field. It makes it where you kind of want to use him and become a pass-happy team, but you don't need to play that way, man. They need to get his passing attempts down to 22, a game or something like that, man. You don't want it to be
efficiency.
We want him to be efficient, man, a highly efficient quarterback, and have some play action, man, because we know that when he has these play action spots after the runs being respected, he's one of the few quarterbacks that you can trust is going to hit these guys on these 50-yard posts that are open to get behind the safety. So I think that it's going to be bright. It's crazy because entering this season, my picks for the Super Bowl were the Texans versus the Packers from what I saw last year. Both teams kind of go through some injuries happen with the Packers where, they end up losing the main key component to their defense and Michael Parsons. Now, I kind of think that we can still get that matchup this year. And I think that definitely the Packers and the Texans can both get there. It won't be easy. We know that, but we do know one thing for sure. The Bills, the window is closing. Josh Allen, be careful for Mahomes, because I don't know if he's going to be able to play with the way he loves to work out and keep himself fit, and the access to wonder drugs he has with his bankroll and who he is. He'd probably be ready to play first week, even though right now they're saying he won't be. I would not be surprised if he pulls something off to be there. Watch the Bears. The Bears will be a good team next year as well. I'm real excited. The thing about football is it's so a great thing about the NFL is that, like these two teams that are in the Super Bowl, they were both 60-1 to get to the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
Neither made the playoffs last year. The great thing about the NFL is that any moment your team can become that team, and we're in a good position right now. Hopefully these guys can keep it going, and we can finally get a Super Bowl to Houston, man. It's been a long, long wait, and I think that we'll appreciate that more than anything. We've had a World Series, we've had the NBA Finals, and we've had a championship in that, and we love all of those organizations. But man, Houston is
football's king, bro.
Football
I've been saying that.
Going to be king in Texas, man. You know that. Let me get to the Ball Parlay real quick. My guy says he leans Seattle, but no official play for him. Me, I'm going to take the Patriots plus 4.5. The prop that I was saying I was going to come back and give you guys was going to be Marcus Jones to score a touchdown. It's at plus 3,000. So, hey, man, that's definitely worth putting you $20 on and getting you 600 off of, because he has a couple different ways that he can get into the end zone, whether it's on defense with a fumble recovery, a scoop and score, with an interception for a pick six, or, as we know, he's one of the best kick returners in the country. I'm going to go to the college basketball slate. We were able to cash yesterday with an easy one as Villanova runs off in the first half for us. We had Villanova first half -4, and for the game -6.5. They take care of business for us. I'm glad that everyone was able to cash on that one as they take care of Seton Hall. Now let's go to a Big 12 matchup. We got West Virginia. They're coming to Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off a loss against Houston, where they got blew out. West Virginia is also coming off a loss at home against Baylor. Earlier this year, the teams met in West Virginia, really close game, but the Mountaineers were able to pull it out. I think this is a situation where if Cincinnati is trying to somehow get an at-large bid, they have to win this game. This is one of the games they cannot let get past them on the schedule. I think we see a huge game from Day Thomas and from Edgerrin James' kid, Jizzle James, speaking of football. So, yeah,
Oh,
Jizzle,
wait, what'd you say?
Jizzle James. That's his name. Jizzle. His nickname's Jizzle. I think he might be, his real name might be Edgerrin James Jr. I think he might be the second, but they call him Jizzle, though. And that's Edgerrin's son. Yeah, that's his son, man. And he got the size. I don't know why his ass didn't play football. He's 6'3", 205. He could have been out on that.
Never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late. Maybe he can become a tight end. He has all the athletic.
I got to look that up. That's crazy. No way that's his nickname. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Jizzle.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, Jizzle James.
Maybe I'm just, making it more than what it is, but that's a crazy nickname.
Jizzle. Jizzle.
All right, stop saying it. We're good.
Yeah, so we're gonna go with the you funny, man. We're gonna go with the Bearcats. Let's go with Cincinnati Bearcats. Let's go first half. West Virginia tends to start slow. I like to cut these games in half. That 5.5 is a janky number. It might get at the end, and we've been seeing a lot of college basketball. They just were talking about this Stanford game. They're down 4 points, and the guy just the line was 2.5, and the guy just sprints down the court with no time left and lays it up, doesn't launch a three or nothing. So, as the corporations take over the sports betting, it's getting shadier and shadier. So we like the first half. So I like to bet first half. We're going first half with the Cincinnati Bearcats. I believe it's -2.5. Best of luck to you all on all your wagers. Garrett, tell everyone where they can find you at.
Yeah, so it's either at Texans Commenter or at Houston Stressans, STRESSANS on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, pretty much everywhere. My website, HoustonStressans.com. I got a free newsletter. I haven't been doing it, but I'll write articles in the off season. You can just find it on my website as well as merch. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. I appreciate the time and the convo as always, man. It's good to catch up with you and talk ball.
Man, it's always great to talk ball with you, man. And I'm sure we'll be texting during the Super Bowl and kind of talking about what's going on, man. I look forward to next year when we'll bring you back. We'll do a draft show, and I'll get you on here, and we'll do a draft show right the week of the draft. I think the draft's in Pittsburgh this year, so in April we'll jump back on. But until then, you guys go follow my guy. Go to his website, invest in some of that merchandise. If you're a Texans or a Rockets or Astros fan, he has some really great one-on-ones over there. And you also can go to my website, www.thewageringworld.com. This is the logo hat right here for the show, but I have other items that you guys know. It's Us versus the Machine, the Underground and the Underdogs, all types of high-quality merch. A lot of the guys in the chat have purchased it, and they all were really happy with the quality of the merchandise. You guys just keep on supporting me and my guy, Garrett. Hey, guys, as always, I dedicate this show to the greatest Houston sports fan I know, and that's my father, John H. Lindsay. I do this for you, Dad. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow. Ski and spread a stare. We'll talk a little bit more about the Super Bowl. For my guy, Garrett, this is The Wagering World.
Appreciate it, Dre.